So a big shout out to our Novartis delegation here. I think we have Novartis delegates from over 20 countries. So proud for you to be here. So proud to be here myself. A big thank you to David and Kate for the opportunity to address the audience. I wanted to take the opportunity to tell a little bit about my story as a young person who grew up to become a leader of a very large organization, and offer some reflections that I think maybe could help all of you on your journey, and I believe help us ultimately improve the world and improve human health. This is a picture of me at the age of 25 in rural Tanzania. I was working in medical clinics there trying to tackle the challenges of malaria. Over that time period when I was in my 20s, I worked in 6 different developing countries, worked on topics ranging from HIV/AIDS, malaria, street children, child labor, the problem of human resources and health. And I developed a deep conviction that I wanted to inspire a healthier world, that I wanted to do something dramatic to improve human health in my lifetime. And it's from that conviction so much of my purpose ultimately came from. So I wanted to take you a little bit on the journey of how that taught me about leadership. Now from there, I had the opportunity to work with many great luminaries, people like Jim Kim at the World Bank or Paul Farmer at Harvard. I also had the opportunity to move into the world of a big corporation. I wanted to use my skill set to create innovations that could dramatically improve healthcare. So I ended up at Novartis. Novartis, we're working to reimagine medicine. We're actually a over 250-year-old company. We're one of only 3 companies on the planet that has developed over 100 medicines. We produce more medicines for the world than any other company, 70 billion doses a year. Our 100,000 associates in 150 countries live every day with the spirit to reimagine medicine to extend and improve patients' lives. Now, I'm an accidental CEO. I never set out to be a CEO. Somehow I've ended up in the role. But along the way, I've realized that the most powerful thing that we have that can improve the world is leadership. The most precious resource we in fact have is leadership. And if all of you embrace the journey of self-inquiry and leadership, we can make extraordinary things happen. The reason society has been able to make such extraordinary gains over the last century is because leaders like you have helped ordinary people do extraordinary things. But that requires each one of us to realize that leadership is not a right, it's not a rank, it is something that we earn every single day. Now, one of the questions I'm often asked as a young person, how do you go on this leadership journey? How do you actually embrace the opportunity that leadership brings to tackle some of the world's biggest problems? And I'd like to offer 3 reflections on, at least invitation to all of you to reflect on. One of the greatest challenges all of you will have in your leadership journey is to stay deeply inspired, to keep dreaming about doing very big things for the world. The opportunities to give in to cynicism are all around us. Negativity is everywhere. And as you go through your leadership journey, as you face challenges, you will surely face the question of, do you want to give up on your dreams? Do you want to give up on the possibilities of improving human life? And my invitation to you is to find places where you can deeply reflect on your purpose. In my own world, what I tend to do is reflect on the magic of a medicine. The fact that we can find a medicine, a miracle that fits in the palm of your hand, that can dramatically improve a patient's life, that can cure malaria or cure cancer, is pretty extraordinary. We unpack 4 billion years of evolution with every single medicine that we create. So find your story of inspiration. Find your way of communicating that story of inspiration. And that will not only help those around you stay inspired, it will have a powerful effect on your own state of mind. The second invitation I have for all of you is to stay deeply curious. I think it's one of the hardest things to do, especially in the modern world today, where we're bombarded by our AI news feeds, which are trying to get us to be less curious, that are trying to lock in our minds into a single point of view. The truth is, in order to operate in an incredibly complex world, as a leader, you have to stay deeply, deeply curious. You have to ask the question of, what can I learn from the individual in front of me? What can I learn from the alternative point of view? If you want to make big things happen, that's the power of questioning and the power of curiosity. Alongside of that, there's a harder part of curiosity. It's the journey of self-curiosity. What I've learned in leadership is you have to have deep self-awareness. You have to be curious about your own mindset. You have to be curious about what is going on inside of you. It's actually the key to authenticity. Everybody's in search of authentic leadership. The source of authentic leadership is not outside of you. It's by looking inside of you. So stay deeply curious about yourself. And the last element of the story is to be an unboss. At Novartis, we've started a journey on how to unboss a company. You see, the corporate world is slowly learning the wisdom that we actually had in the ancients. When you go back to the Tao Te Ching in 7th century BC, it's all about servant leadership. And somehow along the way, we lost that. With Frederick Taylor's work at Ford Motor Company, we realized we had factories, we needed people to work in the factories, we needed hierarchies, we needed org charts. That's how we run a company. Somewhere along the way in the last 100 years, we've moved to a world of knowledge workers. But we can't manage knowledge workers like cogs in a factory. We have to accept for the most complex problems, the ideas and solutions are actually in the people around us. So we're on a grand journey to unboss a company. And I think all of you could be on a journey to unboss your organizations. Here's the thing. The source of power for a leadership is not where you sit on the org chart. The source of power for a leader is your ability to create possibilities for the people around you. That's your only source of power. If people are following you because of your org chart, you've already lost. People have to follow you because they believe in your ideas and they believe in your values. So be an unboss. Unboss your organizations, but also unboss yourself. If the reason you pursue something is because you want to please the hierarchy, you have to ask yourself, is that really the right reason? Or do you want a deep accountability in yourself as to why you do things? I think the unboss movement is probably, in our company, but more broadly, one of the most powerful things we could do with all of you. Barack Obama, I had the opportunity to hear him recently speak, and he said it to an audience that the most important thing he thinks the older generation can do is get out of the way of the younger generation. And I think that's probably the truth of what we need to have happen. So unboss yourselves, and hopefully you can unboss those around you. Now, when you look at human beings as a species, as a biologist or as a physician, I reflect a lot as what is unique about our species. Some great books have been written about this, but we're a very unique species in our ability to communicate, our ability to tell stories. But what I think is most unique about us is our ability to imagine. When we imagine things, we can make incredible things happen. The power of the human mind to imagine possibilities is what has allowed a science-based world to have so much progress. Now, what I imagine is all of you leave this One Young World session and you've become even better leaders. I imagine that you've unbossed yourselves and you unbossed your organization. I imagine that that leads to so much energy and momentum that even in a world where we have so many problems, that we could actually tackle those problems as human societies have done for the last centuries. And I imagine a world where we come back into rooms like this and we can feel incredibly proud about the progress that we've made. I think it's on all of us to keep imagining what's possible with great leadership. I think we can tackle the world's problems, and I think the future in my world is in your hands. Thank you all very much for the opportunity to speak to you.
You are fantastic.